Welcome to HITC Sport, and yeah, it's that time of year again. Let's take a look at the stupidest football moments to ever occurred in 2021. Although, to be fair, it's almost mid-January. You were probably all expecting this video last week, right? Well, I'm sorry, I was too busy eating my Christmas dinner out of a Tesco bin bag, alright? Christ above. But anyway, let's get on with this then. Right, let's go. January. El Juff's sporting director job. El Juff is a man who everyone used to spit at children. There's a man who Neil Warnock once branded a sewer rat. I mean, he looks like someone who always had the working professionalism of Frankie GATTUSO. I mean, thank Christ job interviews don't exist for players in football. Otherwise, he'd probably be the type of guy to saunter in half an hour late, wearing clothes that stink of vodka and nightclub piss, before vaping in the owner's face. And yet, there's a man who is now a sporting director for Goodaway FC in the Senegal second tier. Oh yeah, let's give the job to a fellow with the ego of Michael Jackson. I can't wait to see his influence on the club. Soon it'll probably be policy to greet the ball boys by flaming up chunks of Nesquik into their face. Inter Miami appoint Neville. Inter Miami are a club who want to be taken seriously, right? I mean, they don't want to be known as simply another David Beckham brand. Just something to be used to pay for Posh Spice's coffee in the morning, right? That's why they've invested in the likes of international superstars such as Gonzalo Higuain, Blaise Matuidi and Ryan Shawcross. Okay, he's a superstar in Stoke, okay? But also, at the start of the year, they named Phil Neville as the manager. That kind of shows that beneath it all, they've actually got the ambition of a paper aeroplane. I mean, if there's one thing we know about the Nevilles, it's that they're about as tactically competent as a tin of cat food. I mean, you'd sooner have Neville Longbottom in the dugout than either Gary or Phil. I mean, I don't care if Phil and David were teenage buddies who used to attend boys' own concerts together and drink tins of Stella in a bush. This is a club who were stiffier of Arsene Wenger and Zinedine Zidane, and yet decide to just give the gig to a man who just failed with the England women's team. Ibrahimovic's fight with Lukaku. Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Romelu Lukaku were Manchester United teammates. They were supposed to be friends, and yet chuck these two monster egos into the San Siro derby, both of them thinking that they're the king of Milan, and that's how you get a knob measuring contest like this. Apparently Zlatan was yelling at Lukaku to go and do some voodoo and calling him a little donkey. I'm sorry, little donkey. No, Lukaku looks more like the Belgian Shrek. You know, if the Belgian Shrek was drinking steroids for lunch. He looks like a chunky Mike Tyson. Someone who looks like he eats the heads of farmyard donkeys for breakfast. Zlatan, by comparison, you just look like a hairy Stephen Merchant. And the sad thing is that this petty face-off inspired a Milanese mural, but also they're still sniping at each other now, over a year later. Christ above, this isn't Desperate Housewives, move on. Bye, let's try and hit 600,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Listen, if you're new here, okay, and you want to see more videos like this, or you just want to join the journey and stick around, then honestly, slap that big fat red button in the teeth. You would be the greatest person on planet Earth, alright? Absolute legends. Anyway, back into the video. Liverpool signed Kabak. I get that Liverpool were desperate for centre-backs this time last year, but there's no excuse for this. Honestly, yes, their treatment room looked like the set of Platoon, but still, Ozan Kabak is a wet tea towel of a centre-back who is rotting at the foot of the Bundesliga with Schalke. Who goes shopping in the German relegation zone? I mean, it's a bit like eyeing up an egg sandwich that you found on the floor of the swimming pool toilets. I mean, put it back unless you want to get gangrene in your tongue. And the weirdest part of this was the fanfare, the hype. The media saying that Liverpool signing Kabak was a coup, a season saviour, as if he was Turkey's answer to Zeus. Nah, he had the defensive presence of a wheelie bin. Was about as forgettable as any episode of Joey, just poor. February, Villas-Boas resigns. This is a quote from Andres Villas-Boas when he was under pressure as Tottenham boss in 2013.
The call to make that decision is mine because obviously I won't resign and I'm not a quitter.
8 years later,
Andre Villas-Boas has offered his resignation as manager of Marseille.
This was mental. Villas-Boas was doing a great job at Marseille. He just finished second in the league with them, and he had them in the Champions League. Clearly he was building something strong at the Stade Velodrome. And yet, then the club go behind his back to bring Oliver Nitschem in on loan from Celtic. And he reacts to this as if they just tried to set fire to his mother's house. Poor old Nitschem. This is a former Man City Academy player who probably dreamed of emulating Yaya Toure in the Premier League. Instead, his mere presence in the Marseille dressing room caused Villas-Boas to pack up his bags and leave the country. I mean, bit of an overreaction. This is like on Christmas Day, opening your stocking and finding 2 tickets to a Westlife concert or a box set of Mrs. Brown's Boys. Sure, it would probably make you taste vomit in your mouth, but to then quit the family and place yourself up for adoption? Bit much. 9-0 again. How does a football club lose 9-0 in the Premier League 2 years in a row? That Leicester match should have been a fluke for Southampton, a dark blotch in the history of Southampton Football Club. Instead, Ralph Hasenhüttl has chosen to make it an annual event, shipping 9 without reply at Old Trafford, with teenage midfielder Alex Jankovic getting sent off after a minute. It was so early in the game, he didn't even need to take a shower. But after that tackle, yeah, he probably should have still scrubbed his brain with shampoo. Andre Onana's ban. Has anyone wondered why the talented Cameroonian goalkeeper Andre Onana never gets linked with any big moves anymore? Onana. Yeah, I know his surname sounds like the type of noise you make when your granny makes another racist comment about Meghan Markle, but still, Onana was a talented Ajax goalie, right? 2 years ago, this Ajax goalie couldn't eat a bowl of Cocoa Pops without being linked to Chelsea. Well, now his career is stuffed face first in a ditch because he's picked up a 1-year ban from football after failing a drug test, claiming that he took his wife's diabetics pill by mistake. Yeah, that sounds about as credible as when Prince Andrew said he doesn't sweat. I guess the royal family aren't born with sweat glands in their face. I mean, 10 years ago, Kolo Touré did the same thing when he swallowed his wife's diet pills. Footballers, please, can you just stop swallowing your wife's tablets? Can you not be trusted in the house? It's like I'm talking to actual cats here. Wrexham takeover. Wrexham are currently owned by Deadpool and Mac of It's Always Sunny. Ow! Whoa, and why? Am I the only one who can see this will end in tears? We've got a tiny Welsh minnow in the hands of 2 Hollywood actors who've probably got the footballing knowledge of a sink. I mean, sure, it's exciting for Wrexham to be owned by a Hollywood A-lister and a Hollywood F-lister. I mean, I'm not saying Rob McElhenney isn't famous, but I mean, does Britney Spears know who he is? He's probably not even as famous as the lads of Drake and Josh. But anyway, I can say this is going to be a disaster. The fate of a dignified Welsh club is right now in the hands of Detective Pikachu and someone who I'm convinced has probably seen Danny DeVito's knob. Ajax's Europa League blunder. Sebastian Haller has proven to be a red-hot goal-scoring machine for Ajax in the Champions League, right? So imagine what he could have done for them in the Europa League. How stupid does it look that after signing him from West Ham in January, they then failed to register the £20 million record signing for the Europa League knockout rounds? I mean, it was down to an administrative error on the computer, which probably means that the secretary probably poured hot coffee all over the monitor. And because of that, they then crashed out in the quarterfinals to Roma, with Dusan Tadic missing a penalty. A penalty that Haller would have taken. I mean, Haller probably watched all that in the stands, wondering what sort of small-time Dutch circus he had joined. Mark Wright of FIFA 2021. Yeah, February was the month where Mark Wright, that towie wet salad who honestly has the likability of a swastika birthday cake, he was put in FIFA 21 at 34 years of age, after his publicity stunt signing for Crawley Town. I'm sorry. He's a reality star. Yes, this man might have some morsel of footballing ability playing in Soccer Aid, you know, dribbling past the likes of Jerry Halliwell and the fat one off the chase. But are you really going to include this part-time model in FIFA 21? I mean, to be fair, they did give him a rating of 47. March, Buffon banned for blasphemy.
Gianluigi Buffon had 1 game ban for blasphemy after veteran Juventus goalkeeper shouted "God, it's a pig" during Parma clash last December.
Why? Why would an experienced, world-class shot stopper like Buffon even shout that during a match? God is a pig. Unless this man has a weird fetish for Peppa Pig, I don't understand what this was about. I mean, why did he have to go so religious with this? I mean, what's next before his next penalty shootout? Why, is he gonna burn the Bible on the pitch? Just weird. Ireland losing to Luxembourg. No more words need to be said. The most embarrassing moment in my sporting life, the return of God. Zlatan Ibrahimovic probably thought his coming out of international retirement for Sweden would be earth-shattering news, that it would violently change the game. Nah, it's a bit like if Conor McGregor announces his next UFC fight when he's 40 years of age. I'm pretty sure that fight would have less TV ratings than an episode of Hollyoaks. Nobody would care anymore. And similarly, Ibrahimovic probably thought that his return would help Sweden reach the Euro 2020 final or something equally delusional. Nah, he played against Georgia and Kosovo in the World Cup qualifiers, didn't score, mostly looked like an unfit toothbrush, and then a knee injury ruled him out of Euro 2020, and he's since played against Georgia and Spain, and again, no goals. This is a man who's always used to scoring on his debut, but this... It's been nearly 8 years since his international return, and still his last goal for Sweden was 6 years ago. This return has been about as anticlimactic as Spider-Man 3. Choupo-Moting call-up.
Choupo-Moting was his Cameroon call-up after FA sent an email to themselves.
I can't believe the levels of incompetence in some of these admin rooms. Whoever works in the Cameroon FA, someone please grab them by the nostrils and throw them down the stairs. Because this country were deprived of a Bayern Munich centre forward like Eero Choupo-Moting. Because whatever senile dishwipe was working the computers, they chose to send the call up to themselves. What? April, Super League. Look, I'm not gonna revisit the Super League or else we'll be here all day, but you all know what this was about. A bunch of elite clubs in Tottenham being invited to the Super League. It made no sense. Honestly, for the fans of Liverpool and Chelsea, to see Joel Glazer's name talking to them on their website probably felt about as natural as taking a shower with Kevin Spacey. Just no. Tottenham sacking Mourinho. This was a disgrace. Tottenham are a club who are embarrassingly allergic to trophies. It's been over 5,000 days since they last lifted a piece of silverware, and yet last April, they were days away from a League Cup final with Manchester City, and they were armed with Jose Mourinho, someone who had already overseen 2 wins over Pep Guardiola as Tottenham boss. Until that point, he was the only man in world football to ever beat Guardiola in a cup final. And yet Daniel Levy chose to sack him. I might understand if you had a world-class coach lined up, but you replaced him with Ryan Mason, a virtual child who's probably still nursing the worst headache of the decade. Ozzy, when he wakes up every morning, the panging in his head, it must feel like he's just listened to an album of Nicki Minaj. But Ozzy, this photo of Jose packing his office into his car, days before he could have realistically masterminded a trophy for Tottenham, I don't care if he punched Olivia in the teeth, or if he'd taken a wee on his desk. It doesn't matter. Don't throw away a serial cup winner for a little boy. Payne Murray's headbutt.
Grimsby, Stephen Payne sent off headbutting teammates.
Yeah, May, keep attacking Brøndby. Listen, Niels Frederiksen has done a brilliant job at Brøndby. He just won the Danish league, but he kind of undid all of the excellent work when he decided to stand on the side of the pitch holding up a whiteboard saying, keep attacking. There and then, that guy looked like a desperate primary school teacher who just lost control of his class. Honestly, keep attacking. Oh yes, management genius. De Gea's penalty shootout. This was probably the darkest moment in David Gea's career. How the man survived his Manchester United career still intact after this match, I will never know. The Europa League final with Villarreal had gone to penalties. And now, as the best paid goalkeeper on planet Earth, you would expect him to save 1 or 2 spot kicks, right? I mean, his Manchester United teammates all did their job, all of them, scoring a penalty each. So if De Gea hadn't shown the reflexes of a fat panda, then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have had a trophy to lift above his head. But instead, De Gea watched the entire Villarreal team, including even the goddamn goalkeepers, walk up to slam a penalty past him, leaving it up to him to miss the crucial one. In that penalty shootout, he was statistically about as much use as a bin bag. Pep Guardiola's Champions League final tactics. Pep Guardiola is a world-class manager, but I'm sorry, this was just banana soup. Normally he is a tactical genius in these sort of games, but lads, in the Champions League final, this was borderline arrogance. Clearly being booed out of the FA Cup by Chelsea had scrambled his usually cool brain, and so he decided to do something very weird, leaving both Rodri and Fernandinho out of the team to fill his team with attacking midfielders. Poor old Ilkay Gundogan. He can pick a pass, he can score a goal, but he tackles like a lethargic sloth. June, Eriksen coverage. Okay, Christian Eriksen collapsing wasn't stupid in itself. What was moronic was the television cameras continuing to film him as he got CPR on the floor, to the point where his own teammates had to form a shield around him. The cameras even tried to film his crying wife. Oh, I'm sorry, no. This isn't an episode of Home and Away. Whoever was operating those cameras, you've clearly got the sensitivity of a shoe. Arnautovic Euro's ban. Marko Arnautovic actually sat out a Euro 2020 match because he insulted Eshkan Alioski's mum. I'm sorry, but Arnautovic, you are a 32-year-old man who, after rotting out in the Chinese wastelands, drinking Pepsi for lunch and probably tucking into cheeseburgers by night, you should have then cherished every remaining minute that you could possibly get at an international tournament with Austria. But instead he, as a nearly middle-aged man, was forced to explain to his family that he couldn't play against Holland because of your mum jokes. What? Silas Wamagutika's fake name. Football is always encouraging people to come out, right? Be themselves. Perfect example, the Stuttgart sports director is Thomas Hitzelsberger. Great! But one of his players at the club, Silas Wamagutaka, I know I can't pronounce that name, but who cares, because we don't need to know it anymore, because that's not actually his name. He came out and told the world that actually, he's been lying to everyone. He's been playing under a fake name and a fake age. That his name is actually Silas Kantumba Mavumba, and he's not actually 21, he's 22 years of age. And I thought people only started lying about their age after 40. Foden Gaza haircut. Remember when Phil Foden dyed his hair blonde to look like Gaza for Scotland for the Euros, hoping to recreate his wonder goal against the Scots? And then Foden chucked in such a stale performance against Scotland, limping around like a 3-legged dog. Ozzy, this is like dressing up as Elvis Presley for Halloween karaoke before then singing like a malfunctioning microwave. Marshall loved by Schick. You have to feel bad for David Marshall. Here he was, proudly representing his country at 36 years of age in the European Championships, and his first game was against the Czech Republic, and whilst dreaming of a clean sheet, he instead gets lobbed by Patrick Schick from 65 yards. Cue the memes. Everton appoint Rafa Benitez. Of all the managers Everton could have appointed, they drag in Rafa Benitez from the Chinese wilderness. But it's not just that he was rusty, that he's out of touch, that his motivation for the sport is being swallowed by a big bag of Chinese cash. No, it was the fact that this man was the face of Liverpool for nearly 10 years. He's an Anfield hero, a Champions League winner, and now the Everton manager. I'm sorry, but everyone at Goodison Park should be on the same page. To most Evertonians, the prospect of Liverpool winning the Premier League, it makes them feel like voiding their bowels out their nose. But the reality is that Everton's manager actively wants the Reds to win the Premier League. That doesn't really make sense. Gattuso quits Fiorentina. Gennaro Gattuso always reminds me of Gimli from Lord of the Rings. Just always a temperamental, angry little man. And typically, this fiery little fridge magnet accepts the job as Fiorentina manager on the 25th of May. 23 days later, he quits over a dispute over player transfers, before trying to get his agent to get him an interview at Tottenham. A rumour that caused Tottenham fans to fry the internet. July, Ciro Immobile's dive. The most infamous dive of Euro 2020 surely has to be Ciro Immobile. A Lazio goal machine mostly resembled a wet sack of butter for Italy at Euro 2020. Honestly, he was the Italian team of Werner. But yeah, against Belgium in the quarterfinals, collapses as if he'd just broken his foot, rolled around like a stricken soldier out of Saving Private Ryan, and then, as soon as Italy score, gets back to his feet to celebrate. Pathetic. Sancho Rashford penalty. Listen, Gareth Southgate has done a brilliant job with England. I'm sorry, but he has. But in the penalty shootout fight against Italy in the Euro 2020 final, bringing on both Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford in the final minutes to take the most important kick of their careers without even being given a chance to warm up. No wonder they both missed. August, Ronaldo to Man City. Ronaldo to Man City. Can you imagine if this actually happened? The very fact that Cristiano Ronaldo was inching towards the Etihad, if this had happened, would have broken the sport. PSG rejected Mbappe bid. PSG rejected a £170 million transfer from Real Madrid for Kylian Mbappe, for a guy who's going to leave Paris this summer for less than a box of custard creams. Lunacy? Messi leaves Barcelona. 2 years ago, Lionel Messi wanted to leave Barcelona and was forced to stay. Last year, Messi wanted to stay at Barcelona and was forced to leave, signing for PSG. Even now, all these months later, he still doesn't feel right. And let's be honest, he's in a front line with Neymar and Kylian Mbappe. This should be the most devastating forward line in sport. And it's all a bit meh. September, Barca signed Luuk De Jong. Yeah, Barcelona signing a former Newcastle misfit like Luuk De Jong so soon after being forced to give up Messi. Oh, doesn't it make you feel a bit sick? It's a bit like being forced to divorce the love of your life, and then 3 weeks later, you get instead fixed up on a date with your fat cousin from Stoke. You know, the one that constantly smells of gone off salmon. Sheriff beat Madrid. This still doesn't compute. Real Madrid lost at home to a team from Moldova in the Champions League. They're a football club whose crest makes you think of Woody from Toy Story. And Real Madrid lost to them with someone from Luxembourg scoring a late winner? So I guess it wasn't just Ireland then. Messi lies down in the wall. Here we've got Lionel Messi lying down in the wall for PSG. Big who cares, right? It was just a display of humility, of teammanship, a complete lack of ego, which is what you want from the best player in the world. And Rio Ferdinand reacts to that as if the PSG players had forced him to lick dog poo off the floor. I'm sorry, Messi isn't the Prince of Spain or the King of France. He's a footballer. Same as any other player in that PSG team. He still goes to the toilet as well. If he wants to lie on the ground, let him lie on the ground. Rio talking about how it's disrespectful. What? Lingard versus young boys. Bit ironic. For most of Jesse Lingard, he's been trying to convey himself as a young boy, and here he was helping his team lose to a team of young boys with that horrific last-minute back pass. He just went full Stevie G. October, Yaya Toure offers himself. In the space of a week, Yaya Toure offered himself to Barcelona as a player and then Romanian club Sepsi FC as a manager. He was rejected both times. Stinks of desperation. Like he's just some drunken old man prowling at a nightclub, trying to chat up anything with a pulse. From prestigious Hollywood models to middle-aged women who look like the bird lady of Home Alone 2. Honestly, Yaya, give it a rest. Bodo Glimt 6, Roma 1. November, England 20, Latvia 0. This is disgusting. This was a Women's World Cup qualifying match, and England versus Latvia, and it wound up being 20 goals to 0. 4 players scored a hat-trick each. What? What is the point of a game like this? Steve Bruce wants to go to Man United. These were 2 headlines in the space of a month.
Steve Bruce fires parting shot at Newcastle fans for calling him useless, fat, tactically Nebic cabbage head.
Okay. And then this.
Steve Bruce tipped for Manchester United interim role after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's sacking.
What? December, Smith Rowe goal. This goal is sort of being forgotten already, but lads, last month, Emile Smith Rowe bruised it in a goal at Old Trafford with David De Gea lying in a crumpled heap on his goal line because Fred stood on his foot. I'm sorry, but De Gea, you are a big, strong athlete, right? I get that having studs planted on your foot is sore, but why are you acting like you've just been shot by James Bond? That you've now got leprosy in your ankle. Get up, stand on your goal line, and make a damn save. This was lunacy. Anyway, that's the video. What do you think? Alright, what crazy, stupid stupid moments have I missed? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.